Hi, this is James Jeffrey Paul, and while I'm driving here between Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina, I wanted to do something I've been meaning to do for a month, and that's record my review of the current Broadway revival of Jason Miller's Pulitzer Prize-winning play, That Championship Season, which just opened on Broadway and which I saw last month in previews. And first off, a lot of you probably know the play from having seen the two film versions of it. The play from the film from the early 80s, I believe from 82, directed by Miller himself, starring Martin Sheen, Stacy Keach, Bruce Dern, and Robert Mitchum, and the, I believe, 1999 TV movie version of it for Showtime, which starred and was directed by Paul Sorvino, who starred in the original production of the play back in 1972, and who also appeared in the first film version. That second film version, I admit, was really one of the best ensemble pieces of acting I've ever seen. It was truly great. Besides Sorvino, the cast included Gary Sinise and Tony Shalhoub, and it was truly an exceptional piece of work. But for those of you who don't know the play, the original play came out in 1972. It was written by Jason Miller, really his only big success as a playwright. His biggest success as an actor, which he also worked at, was, of course, playing Father Karras in The Exorcist. And That Championship Season is set in 1972 in Pennsylvania and concerns the 20th annual reunion of a group of 4 top players on a Catholic high school's basketball team who 20 years ago won the state championship under the tutelage of their coach, and every year they go back to their coach's house and have a reunion and of course, this being a play, an American play involving a group of several characters, you can bet they all have character flaws, deep dark secrets to reveal, a huge cataclysmic revelation to go through collectively, and then try at the end to pick up the pieces. And granted, that's an old concept, and it can easily become a cliche, but That Championship Season was truly one of the best examples of the drawing room cast of multiple characters agonizing through their deep dark secrets this side of Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. It's truly a very finely written, sometimes very shockingly brutal, verbally and emotionally brutal piece of work, and it's only had one Broadway revival. Actually, it had an off-Broadway revival about 13 or so years ago, which closed after a very short period of time. This production is absolutely one of the finest theatrical productions, one of the finest theatrical ensembles I've seen in a lifetime of playgoing. It is directed with admirable restraint and with great attention to the subtle nuances of the text. by Gregory Mosher, who I believe has won at least 1 or 2 Tony Awards for Best Director. I know that he recently staged the successful Broadway revival of Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge, and I know that he staged the Broadway premiere back in '84 of David Mamet's Glengarry Glen Ross. And the play has an excellent ensemble cast, including Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patric, who, by the way, is the son of the late Jason Miller, so there's some genealogical and genetic and psychic continuity about this production that if you're a metaphysician you can chew on if you want to. And it also stars, let's see, who did I say? Sorry, I had to concentrate on my driving for a second, and I didn't want to have a bloody accident and film my bloody car crash demise and have that wind up on YouTube instead of this review. Besides Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patric, it includes Joe Gaffigan. I can never remember that guy's name. And lastly, Chris Noth, yes, the infamous Mr. Big from Sex and the City. And I could go on and on raving about the large and small details of the play that touched me so much, or that impressed me so much, but I've got to say that Brian Cox, you'll remember him as the first Hannibal Lecter in film from the movie Manhunter a quarter century ago, and especially in my mind as Hermann Goering in the TV miniseries Nuremberg from a dozen years ago, portrays the coach, who, as it turns out, is far from the stern but wise and loving father figure whom he presents himself to be, and whom, for the most part, the players regard him as. Actually, he's a very unprincipled, rather mean-spirited and somewhat abusive bigot who, forgive me for revealing this spoiler, but if you know the play, you'll know that the big, deep, dark secret in the play is that the players 20 years ago may not have won the state championship honestly and honorably. They may have resorted at the coach's insistence to underhanded means and didn't deserve their victory. Now, in the previous incarnations of the coach that I've seen, Robert Mitchum's and Paul Sorvino, I saw the coach, for all of his flaws, as a more benign figure. Sure, he's a bigot, and sure, he may not be the most ethical person in the world, but I couldn't shake the notion that he really loved his boys, quote unquote, and that for all of his insistence that they were great and could be champions in anything, that deep down he really knew their flaws and had spent his life out of love and concern trying to save his 4-star players from themselves. But having seen this review, I no longer feel that that is the case. I feel, on the contrary, that what we are truly meant to see is what a horribly negative force he's been in his players' lives. That he keeps them close merely to bolster up his own ego, and that one reason the players haven't had such successful lives is because the coach insisted on treating them as if they were boys. He still calls them his boys, and in a way he retarded their